Zepbound 2.5 milligram. The first 2 weeks, what should you be focusing in on from my humble experience? Hi friends, I'm Elizabeth, Countess of Shopping. I've lost a whopping 90 plus pounds the last 18 months of being on Mounjaro, moving from Mounjaro to Zepbound because of the Zepbound shortage and Mounjaro shortage, moved to compound tirzepatide, but I am going back over to Zepbound at least for this month. But I've been on Zepbound and Mounjaro, same thing, just different FDA approvals for the last 18 months, last year and a half of my life, best year and a half of my life, besides the year that I met my son and I married my husband and had my son. Let's dive in. I've got 5 tips for you. You're going to want to stay till the end for tip number 5. But tip number 1 is the first 2 weeks to focus in on for me. And as always, medical disclaimer, I'm not a medical person. This is simply my experience, strength, and hope, and will hopefully help you on your journey, was the large weight loss that I had the first 2 weeks. It was like boom, boom, boom. It was a 1-2 punch of great weight loss. That stopped for me. It definitely slowed down significantly after that. It may not for you. It may just be trucking along of where you may be dropping on quite a bit of weight or maybe not. But for me, my experience, strength, and hope, it did after the first 2 weeks. I'm like, that was amazing because it gave me a confidence boost to keep going, to feel like I was making momentum, since particularly I am self-pay. And I'm like, I want to be seeing results as I'm self-paying. And so that was really, really helpful for me to get those immediate instantaneous results. Now, if you haven't had a substantial amount of weight loss, please, please, please do not fret my pet. There's a thing called hypo-responders, meaning there's just slower responders in the population of GLP-1 medication folks, and that's okay. If you are a hypo responder or you haven't lost any weight your first 2 weeks, you may simply just need a higher dose. Like talking to your healthcare provider about that, it may mean that you may just need to go to a higher tier and a higher dose to be able to see results. So don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged. And don't compare yourself to other people either. Stay in your own lane. Number 2, with Zepbound 2.5 milligrams, the first 2 weeks for focus, that tunneled laser focus on there is the appetite suppression, gauging whether it's too much appetite suppression or the other side of the pendulum or not enough appetite suppression. For me, at the beginning, I was so full, like barely. My portions went from like this, like a wok size pan, to a appetizer plate, like a tapas, a little small plate. And so having that dramatic, like, oh my goodness, the appetite suppression was so intense for me. Now that was till about day 5, because day 5, 6, and 7 are half-life doses. And so that is where it's natural to feel more hungry. But for me, day 1 and day 2, so powerful for having that pause, having that reprieve, having that stop of eating. I never experienced anything like that. I mean, one does not get to be 100 plus pounds overweight without having an unhealthy relationship with food. And for me, not knowing when to stop eating, that I was always hungry with chronic obesity management. And now treating my chronic obesity management, having these changes, it's been amazing. So the appetite suppression, either too much or too little. So let's talk about too much appetite suppression. Number 1, you need to tell your healthcare provider. Be in communication. If you don't have a great healthcare provider to work with, I work with Join Fridays. Use the discount code QUEEN. They are a telehealth company that prescribes both brand names, meaning Zepbound, WEGOVY, chronic obesity management, GLP-1 medications. They also prescribe compounds. And so I take the compound right now because I can't get my Zepbound because of the shortage. I will be, hopefully, if it looks like things are changing a little bit, but I digress. That's for another video topic. The compounds, they work with reputable compound pharmacies and get shipped directly to your home. But for getting the Zepbound, I actually get that from a local pharmacy. So talk to your healthcare provider of too much appetite suppression. Talk to them about it. And then number 2, of making sure when I had too much appetite suppression, for me, that I was having the most nutritious foods I possibly could when I did eat. And that required me to make some lifestyle changes. Eli Lilly, the manufacturer of Zepbound and Mounjaro, tells us we have to make permanent lifestyle changes. And so for me, that's under physical activity and with food. And with food, it's continuously evolving. The last year and a half of my life, the last 18 months of learning new things about food and nutrition that I just never knew, because my body was wired differently and eating differently. And now that I'm eating, air quote, normally and not having these massive, gigantic portions, what does a plate look like? Which is one of the reasons why, by the way, if you're like, I don't know what to eat, if you need a meal plan, I have bought from a dietitian. I did not create this, she did. I bought it from her for $500 so I could own the licensing rights to give it to you for free. It's a week-long meal plan plus the shopping list on there, plus protein recipes. There's 16 plus protein recipes included in there as well. And that is on my website, countessofshopping.com, and also linked down in the description link below. You can, if you don't know, here on YouTube has recently made changes of getting to the description links. You've got to click that more button twice, and that should pull up all of my stuff for you. So you may have to click it again, and it will hyperlink this huge list of all these free resources. But within my food, I have been testing and trying different things. One of my favorite things that I've been loving recently, because a viewer asked, they wanted plant-based protein, and I had been recommending and loving Biocare, which I still recommend. That's linked down in the description link below. Helps with side effects. But I've been testing and trying, and I'm loving Bioptimizer's Protein Breakthrough. It's their chocolate bliss. It is so good, y'all, and it has in there, if I flip over the back of the like iron, potassium, sodium, all that stuff. I love it. Nutritionally and food-wise, it's amazing, and I'm really enjoying it. So thanks for that viewer who prompted me to get out of my comfort zone to find a plant-based protein. And I frequently, because it's chocolate, and I'm typically not a huge chocolate person, I have added in their mushroom breakthrough, and I was taking that anyways because of the collagen and having collagen, but they have salted caramel. This, with this, but if you like chocolate, you don't need you don't have to, but I am obsessed. It tastes so good. So good. In fact, after this video, I'm going to just have 2 scoops of the salted caramel. It's the mushroom breakthrough in my coffee. It's so good. It tastes kind of like a caramel frappuccino. I haven't had one of those in 10 million years from Starbucks. It tastes like that, but within the coffee, it's so good. But it's only, this by the way, it's only the 2 scoops, 50 calories. Like, let me blink more because it blows my mind. So making those, so when I'm eating, if I'm not eating enough food with the appetite suppression, making sure I'm eating the most nutrient dense food. Then the inverse of that is I am not having any appetite suppression. Going back to focusing on protein, 100 to 120 grams of protein per day is what the GLP-1 dietitian told me. If you want to see that interview, she was my personal dietitian too. That interview is hopefully super helpful for you in my 300 plus video playlist. You can binge watch on all of my GLP-1 videos over the last year and a half. Having that appetite suppression for me, it comes back majorly when I'm focusing on protein. And that's my encouragement for you. I thought I was eating a lot of protein, but until I started tracking it, which I used to not like tracking, now I don't mind. I use the free app, MyFitnessPal. I used to use Weight Watchers, but I switched over to the free version of MyFitnessPal to see my macros. When I don't have appetite suppression, it usually means for me I'm not eating enough protein. And in an honest self-appraisal and an honest inventory, I want to encourage you, if you're not having, maybe you need to increase your protein. Now, this has taken me months and months and months and months and months to get to this point of 100 to 120 grams of protein on day 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, not day 1 and day 2. Still, even at this point, not day 1 and day 2. But for Zepbound 2.5 milligrams, you probably are having some appetite suppression, but there's probably some viewers watching right now who are not having any. I want to give you a big hug and say, nothing's wrong with you. I've gotten those comments before of like, something's wrong with me. Well, get a blood panel to make sure nothing's wrong with you. But from if it's a chronic obesity management mindset standpoint, nothing's wrong with you. There's a certain percentage of the population that are the hypo responders, and it just takes longer. And I want to encourage you to give yourself love, grace, kindness, and compassion. It may just mean this is going to take longer for you and titrating up on higher doses. And that's okay. Like, that's okay. Please do not compare yourself to me or anyone else in the GLP community or even in my free group of thousands of amazing, fabulous, wonderful people. It's your journey, your race. Stay in your own lane, because comparison is the thief of joy, and it will rob you of the joy of this fantastic journey. Truly, it's been life-changing for me, and hopefully for you too. Tip number 3 of staying on for the Zepbound focus for the first 2 weeks is side effects. Check in with your body. What are your side effects right now? Are you having any? They're very common. Less than 1% of the population has severe side effects like pancreatitis, appendicitis. I do require that I'm factually accurate on this channel. So if I ever do make a factual accurate mistake, I always ask people to call me out on it, lovingly, but call me out on it. But when I was on the Oprah show, that less than 1% of was when I was on the Oprah show, the Shame Blame Weight Loss Revolution episode that aired in March. I was on the after show on Hulu. You can see that, of where I'm talking directly with Oprah for quite a bit of time. But on the main show, I was on that too, but not talking. The doctors were saying it's less than 1% has those severe side effects. The media does like to inflate those to make it like, oh, henny penny on those. So being mindful, there's common ones though. Common ones like diarrhea, nausea, constipation, tiredness, acid reflux, vomiting. Although I've only vomited once, and that was on Zepbound 15 milligrams. And that was an extreme. I've not had that since or before. But definitely most people get diarrhea or one or the other, either in or out, constipation or diarrhea. And so monitoring your first 2 weeks, I want to encourage you, use my totally free on countessofshopping.com, and also down in the description link below, a tracker. Or don't use mine at all. Put it in your phone, but go to the ... more and you can get the direct link, side effects tracker. It is a printable PDF. You can print and tactilely write out your side effects, your dose, the time of day that you took your medication to track that. Why? You're gonna have your own data. My data is awesome, but I want you to be awesome in your own data. And then that way it will help you make educated decisions with your healthcare provider on this medication, because you can be factually accurate as to what side effects you're having. When did you have them? For how long? I had blowout diarrhea for 12 hours, or I had blowout diarrhea for like 6 days straight, or whatever. I'm just making those up. But you having that on a tracker, very helpful to figure out the pattern recognition for what's causing some of these side effects for you. For me, typically side effects waned. They got less on week 3 and week 4 if I had just titrated up a dose, meaning I went from Zepbound 2.5 milligrams to Zepbound 5 milligrams. For me, I experienced heightened side effects on week 1 and week 2 of Zepbound 5 milligrams. You're not there yet, but I wanted to, like, laying out some of the side effects are patterns. And how do I have those patterns? Because I tracked it. So my big encouragement for you on Zepbound 2.5 milligrams, track. So you are armed with your own data for you and your healthcare provider to make these great educated decisions. Along with those, if you are having constipation and not using, this video is not sponsored by Bioptimizers, I just love their stuff. You can use the discount code QUEEN for all of their products, but their magnesium breakthrough is exceptional for me for constipation. I have no problems going to the restroom with constipation when I switched over. I had been buying a different magnesium that had one type, and then I switched to Bioptimizers. They have 7 types of magnesium. Not only does it help with muscle recovery and sleep, oh my goodness, if you're having sleep issues as one of your side effects. So helpful. But that constipation piece, that's usually one of the first things I recommend. I'm like, get Bioptimizers. Like, they have great products, very high quality. It's made such a big difference, but I don't buy any of my supplements on Amazon. I buy everything from Amazon, but not supplements. And I've talked about that in my free group as to why. So go directly to the link in the down below and use the discount code QUEEN. Tip number 4, refills. At the 2-week mark of Zepbound 2.5 milligrams, I want to encourage you to figure out, are you going to refill on 2.5 milligrams? Or are you going to increase to 5 milligrams? Are you going to titrate up? Having that conversation with your healthcare provider, but you thinking about it around the 2.5-week mark, 2.5-week mark, 3-week mark. For me, I pulled the trigger on it at like the 3.5-week mark to titrate up, like having that conversation, figuring out the refill of it. There's not currently an FDA shortage going on right now for Zepbound 5 milligrams, but always checking the FDA shortage list. I've talked about that extensively in other videos. But checking that just to make sure, if you're trying to go, for example, from Zepbound 5 milligrams to 7.5 milligrams, something to keep in mind is it on the shortage list? So tip number 4 for Zepbound 2.5 milligrams, the first 2 weeks worth of focus is making sure you know if you're going to refill or stay on the dose. And maybe you don't know that yet. And if you don't know that yet, and we've had so many people in the Countess of Shopping community stay on 2.5 milligram for months. Just don't titrate up. One of my biggest mistakes was titrating up way too quickly. I'm on Zepbound 15 milligrams. There's nowhere else for me to go. And so I talk about that a lot, but it's because I regret it so much. I wish I had slowed down. And that's one of my biggest mistakes and biggest encouragements for you starting this journey is turtles win. Slow and steady wins the race. I have nowhere else to go with the appetite suppression and food chatter somewhat back. I've had to really work hard on all these other tools with that. And so if I would have saved myself, not pain, but harderness, toughness along this journey. So tip number 4, figuring out if you want to refill at the Zepbound 2.5 milligrams or if you want to titrate up to Zepbound 5 milligrams, which is the next dose up, the next tier up. It goes 2.5 milligrams, 5 milligrams, 7.5 milligrams. Tip number 5, figuring out timing for you. You may not want to do that on week 2, but maybe week 3, try a different time or maybe a different, for me, really working with times because I had that tracker helped me figure out my sweet spot to make my side effects less or to make my side effects more. There's a strategy involved with that, which I talk about in a lot of my other videos, which is why you need to click like and subscribe so you can binge watch all of them. But there's a strategy intentionally by design, playing chess with the GLP-1 medication of taking it in the morning versus taking it in the afternoon versus taking it in the evening. For me, elicited different responses within my body with those times. And so that's what I want to encourage you to, of figuring out what's the worst time for you to take your shot. What's the best time for you to take your shot? You're going to know that through testing. And I have a whole other videos that deep dive more into that, which you can see, but that initial part of figuring out your times, you can use that free side effect tracker to help you of like, okay, this is when I started to feel side effects at this time frame. For me, it's around, gosh, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, somewhere in there is when I start to build up and feel stuff. I really feel stuff at the 12 to 48 hour mark, peaking from like 12 to 24 hours. I'm like, oh my goodness. Yay, I get so excited. I'm like, yeah, I feel it. It makes me so happy. So your first 2 weeks focus, and tip number 6, you probably already have this figured out, but if you haven't, because it will be your second pen, what do you do with your daggone pens when you're done? I have on my Amazon shopping list, my Zepbound Amazon shopping list, a sharps container. Those are the red ones that have like the biohazard logo on them. You can buy those. Or Eli Lilly's told us we can reuse old laundry jugs, which is what I've switched over to. Just make sure it's very well labeled. Make sure it's very well labeled. Keeping it away from kids, pets, if you have neurodivergent folks, elderly, or some like, I just wouldn't hate for anyone to get hurt with, this is a needle, there's a needle in there. And this is also glass. There's glass included on the pen. So being super, super mindful of that, of it can break and it has glass in it. In addition to the pen that's been in your, like it's been injected. So if you have not figured out how to dispose properly of your pens, figure that out. The actual sharps container, when it gets full, you need to figure out for your county in your state, because it can vary by both, how to dispose of that. Each county and state have different rules. I live in Virginia. My rules are probably going to be in it. I live in rural Virginia at that. That very well may be different than, say, Northern Virginia or other states too. So something to think about of the disposal. That's your bonus tip. If you made it this far, I told you if you made it this far, you're going to get some good to stay to the end. That was you staying till the end. Now, your accountability question. What are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? I want to know. Type in the comments down below and tell me. And 2, after every video, I always do an emoji of the day. Today's emoji of the day is going to be 2. The number 2. That's the Count from Sesame Street impersonation. The 2. That will tell me that you made it this far in the video. It's like my bat signal. I want to get to know you better because I care. I am obsessed and I'm so grateful with the Countess of Shopping community. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being here with me. I am humbled and honored to be walking this walk with you. And the last 18 months of my life have changed, which is why I want to give back, because it's the coolest thing. This has been so cool. So put down below the emoji number 2, and that will tell me that you made it this far in the video. If you did, I will pray over you. If you don't believe in prayer, I'll uplift you in positive thought. And also it helps me to get to know you better on like a tactile level. If your name keeps popping up in the comments, because I do read them, if your name, then I'll get to know you better because I truly care. I very well may not respond to every comment. In fact, I don't. There's just one of me and thousands of you, but I do see them. Like that's important to me. So that's how I'll get to know you better because I do care. And of course in the free group too. And if you've not been to countessofshopping.com, make sure you do. But get that free meal plan, get my free side effects tracker, get all of it. It's free. And I've done that because I kept getting asked the same questions over and over. And it's very helpful for me to be like, here's the answer that's worked well for me. As always, talk to your own healthcare provider. If you do need a telehealth that prescribes both brand name and compounds, I highly recommend Join Fridays. The discount code is QUEEN, Q-U-E-E-N. Discount code is QUEEN, Q-U-E-N for this. For my electrolytes, I have a special link that is also down in the description link below. For side effects, I've gone ad nauseum talking about Element electrolytes. So I didn't hit heavy in this video about them, but please know that as I take Element on day 0, day 1, day 2 of my shot, it's been chef's kiss, so helpful for me. Sweet friends, make sure you share this video too. If you started GLP-1 with your bestie, share this video with her or him. Or if you're starting with your partner so they can, listen to me while they're walking or on a commute or as you're putting your makeup on or your shower or whatever. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I'm Countess of Shopping. Count my blessings because life is delicious. I look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye, guys.